I think going back to what you said about Tom Brady and guys, not playing the game the same way, like Bo's a great example of that. He's officially won me over. I enjoy watching him play football. Maybe not the style of football, but I enjoy that he competes for 4 quarters and he's fun to watch. Especially in Tom's system, everything started with a mic point by the quarterback. He controlled the run game, he controlled the pass game, he controlled the tempo of a game, where now I think we've seen the trickle up from colleges because guys don't huddle in college. They do the clap.
Hey everybody, what's up? Trey, Wingo here. Welcome into another edition of Straight Facts Homie, the podcast where we use data and intelligent conversation to try and make you a more well-informed sports fan. We don't do hot takes. We don't do arguments. We just want to let you know the things that we're noticing and the things that people that are inside the industry and inside the games that you love are noticing to help make you a better sports fan. If you like what you see here, make sure you click that like and subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts, or especially if you're watching it on YouTube. One of our guests this week is a guy that always made me smile when he played, and he's making a lot of people smile now in his post-NFL career as an analyst for the Thursday night games on Amazon. It is none other than the longtime quarterback who played almost 20 years in the NFL for so many different teams. I think he played for more teams than he had kids, but it's really, really close. I'm talking about, of course, the man who some people know as Fitzmagic, otherwise known as longtime former Harvard quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick. So this is why I love having Ryan on the show, because we talk and text a lot when we're not doing this, and we set up 4-ish Eastern time as the record time. Ish. I'm a big ish guy. Yeah. And I was flying back from a haircut, and I got a text from Ryan that says, I'm in the studio, and I said, I'm there in 30 seconds, and this was Fitzy's response to me. I tell my wife that all the time. I guess less frequently now, but when we were younger. That's what I love about you, man. There are no secrets. There are no secrets.
My kids don't watch this, But
well, yeah, you only have 37 of them. No, seriously, what are you, 8 now? How many kids do you
have? We have 7. We just sent our first one off to college, so we've got 6 at home right now.
Okay, so the first one's in college, and how young is the youngest?
He's a first grader. He's 6 years old, so super, super stoked about Halloween right now.
But that is a gap, man. That is a gap.
See, it's a gap, but we have kids every 2 years in between them. Okay. So they all have friends. And my brother lives next door, so they also have cousins that are the exact same age. So,
but is it seventh heaven? Are you guys contemplating more?
No, I think 7 is it. I think we're done at 7. Yeah.
I think most Americans would agree with you that 7 is you're good.
7's a lot.
You're good at 7. Okay, now let's get to the more mundane stuff, but probably what more people are interested in. I was listening to Tom Brady talk about quarterback play recently, and he sort of had this vibe of like, the guys today we did it the right way, and when it was Drew and myself and Peyton, and these guys are different, and it kind of struck me as like, I'm not sure I understand what he's saying there, because I look at the quarterback playing in the NFL, and I get it. It's a different dynamic and how you can officiate and things the defense can and can't do. I understand all of that. But I see really high-level quarterback play out there from a lot of quarterbacks, whether it's Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson when he's healthy, what we're seeing out of Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield. I mean, I don't think this is a bad era of quarterback play at all.
No, I think it's a great era of quarterback play. I think maybe what he was referring to is it's just a little bit different in the sense that there's not as much on the quarterback in terms of, especially in Tom's system. That system was everything started with a mic point by the quarterback. He controlled the run game. He controlled the pass game. He controlled the tempo of a game, where now I think we've seen the trickle up from colleges because guys don't huddle in college. They do the clap. So then they have to learn all this. But since you're starting from square one with these guys, there's so much pure progression. There's so much, okay, this is the guy you're throwing to. We're getting the ball out quick. It's a quick screen here. It's a throw to the flat there. That it's less about the mental capacity of the quarterback controlling the game. I think that's probably what he's referring to. That being said, oh my gosh, the talent we have right now at the quarterback position, I think the game's in a really good place. I think the hardest thing now is keeping up with these talented guys and finding enough play callers that are really good at what they do. Because if you're good at what you do, you're going to become a head coach, and you're going to go somewhere, and you're going to be, hopefully a dynamic guy. But we're in a good place right now with the quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah, and where you go matters, right? I think one of the things that I really enjoy seeing around the league is so many of these reclamation projects. Guys that were basically kissed off, is that they're never going to get there, they're never going to be what they are. Whether it's Sam Darnold, and we talked about Baker, and now we're seeing it with Daniel Jones. We saw it up until this year with Geno Smith when he went to Seattle, and I think sometimes we give up on these guys too quickly. I understand the pressure that organizations feel if the quarterback isn't performing the way they want. But it is nice to know, okay, it didn't work here, but that doesn't mean it's not always going to not work. It can turn around.
Yeah, I mean, play calling absolutely matters, obviously, but the infrastructure also matters. And so you get guys that are going to some of these teams where they don't have the infrastructure, and it doesn't matter who you are, you're not going to be successful. But I think there are probably 5 guys, no matter where you place them in the league, that are going to be successful no matter what the situation is, no matter who they're playing with. And then there's a group of about 15 to 20 guys. They can be great quarterbacks in the league, but those 2 things, the infrastructure and who's around them, and the play caller and who's helping them out in that sense, really, really matter. And I think Sam Darnold's a great example of that, and Daniel Jones this year, a great example.
Well, how do you do it? Because you're sort of a litmus test, for lack of a better term, for a lot of these guys. Because you went a lot of different places and had different levels of success where you went. What do you say to these guys? Like, take for example, like an Anthony Richardson now, who probably is, he's probably never going to be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts again. And just 3 years ago, he was the 4th overall draft pick. What sort of advice or mindset would you tell these guys that they have to sort of understand that if it's not working here, that doesn't mean it's the end of it for you?
Right. First of all, the injury that Anthony Richardson had in pregame warmups. Did you hear about that? So he snapped one of those bands.
One of those bands, yeah.
And it broke his eye socket. Like, you think about how close that was to maybe blinding him. I mean, that is a freak accident. Also probably told you how strong he is to be able to break one of those bands. But I think with quarterback play, one of the biggest things is self-belief. And you can get beaten down over and over again. And we've got, for Thursday Night Football this week, we have Baltimore and Miami. So this is the backdrop right now in Miami. But Tua is one of those guys, you got to believe in yourself in order for other people to believe in you. And self-confidence is such a big part of it. And so how do you do that? You do that through your training. You do that by other guys lifting you up and surrounding yourself with people that believe in you. And I think last week we saw it with Tua. He had a little bit of a breakthrough. He had some confidence in that game. The game went their way. He had 4 touchdowns. But that's number one. You can get beaten down in this league, and it's easy to lose your confidence. So with those guys, Anthony Richardson being one of them, confidence is the biggest factor for him.
And then on the other side of the ball, that win by the Ravens, or the other team rather, that win by the Ravens over Chicago on Sunday was a monstrously big game for them, because they get Lamar Jackson back. And now all of a sudden, even though they're 2-5, and you combine that with the Steelers losing at home to the Packers on Sunday, they're right now the betting favorite to win that division. I mean, their schedule, the run of games they're about to go on. Now, look, if they shit the bed Thursday night, it doesn't matter. But if they can sort of get this thing going, there's every opportunity for them to be in the hunt for the division title.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And yeah, it was a curious, the Cooper Rush thing was curious, and then they throw Tyler Huntley in, who's a lot more like Lamar, and they have a much better game. That seemed to make a lot more sense. But look, the thing about the Ravens is we know they have the players. And Matabike's out for the year, yes, but they've got the dudes to do it. And so I think teams are going to be afraid to play them. And if they can start, I don't know, they started so slow on defense last year and figured it out. Right. And to start so slow again, I mean, we could blame it on injuries, but, Kyle Hamilton's playing a little bit different role now than he was at the beginning of the season. That's going to be huge. Roquan Smith, is he healthy? But I still have a lot of confidence in the Ravens because of who they have under center. And, hopefully Lamar can remain healthy for the rest of the year. But, I wouldn't be too comfortable in that seat if I was the Steelers.
One thing you just said I thought was really interesting, and I've long believed this, and you just sort of, it struck me when you said it. I do believe that your backup quarterback should be able to play the way your starter plays. And to your point about Snoop, I remember when RG3 was the backup in Baltimore, and I was like, that is a perfect backup for Lamar Jackson. And do you think teams and general managers think about that enough? Because like you said, running the offense with Lamar and then running it with Cooper Rush, which is in no disrespect to Cooper, he did a great job backing up Dak Prescott.
He did.
Those are very different ways you're going to try and play that position.
Yeah, I think, some of it is if you have a young guy. My situation in Miami, I was there. They drafted Tua. Like, it's okay if you've got a rookie, a first, a second-year guy to have a veteran that maybe doesn't fit the style, but somebody that can impart some wisdom, that can help out, that can calm the seas if you need something. But once you have an established guy like Lamar, once you've built your whole entire system around a guy like him, it certainly makes sense to have a backup that plays the same way. And I think we saw that when Flacco got traded to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That's so much about pocket passer, throwing that thing outside the numbers, throwing the ball all over the yard, and that's why he's had so much success feeding those guys in Cincy.
One of the things that since you mentioned Joe, obviously he started in Cleveland, and now they traded him inside the division. The Shedeur Sanders thing has been, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy who has yet to take a snap in a regular season NFL game be talked about more than this guy for a variety of reasons. And people have unbelievably wild conspiracy theories about this. And I just want to get your take on I guess a little bit on what you think Shedeur can be, and we won't know until he plays, but just how people have latched onto him and he's either this or he's this, and there seems to be no in between.
Yeah, I think he's a very polarizing figure. He's just so popular, right? The popularity is crazy, and you think about like the Tim Tebow craze, maybe, and how popular he was and how successful he was in college. That being said, Tebow ended up going in the first round, which I think was a little bit of a surprise with McDaniel in Denver. But I just obviously he's exciting and he's popular. People love talking about him. They know they're going to get views and eyeballs when they talk about Shedeur. But, it's not a great situation. You see Joe really struggle in Cleveland, leave that situation, and light it up in Cincy. So when we talk about infrastructure and what's around them and how you can be successful as a young quarterback, that's a tough place to play right now. That being said, like Dylan Gabriel, he's out there. There's a lot of drop-back pass, which is the worst. To me, that's the worst thing you could do to a young quarterback is live in the drop-back passing game. Let's get him out the pocket. Let's play actions. But they're having a hard time scoring points. They're getting behind in these games, and that's what it's become. So Cleveland, playing quarterback in Cleveland right now is a very tough situation. So I would say to all the Shedeur fans, you just got to be a little bit careful for what you wish for here, because it's not an advantageous situation for a young quarterback to walk into.
Yeah, I mean, people are clamoring for him to play, and I'm like, okay, he comes in, and why do we think it's going to be any better? Which has nothing to do with him, as opposed to what he has to work with and how the team is constructed.
Yeah, and I think Flacco showed that, right? I mean, it was tough stuff with Flacco in there, and there was nothing he could really do about it. And then he goes to a different team in the division and has a lot of success. So I think that's our litmus test there for the state of Cleveland's offense right now and the infrastructure surrounding the quarterback.
So we have a lot of really established guys in the league right now. Obviously, we know who the top tier guys are. We've mentioned them, and then there's the second tier guys. Is there a quarterback that you have seen or you are keeping your eye on that maybe isn't getting a lot of the notoriety and pub that some of these other guys are, but you think really has a chance to be a lot better than what we've seen out of him so far?
Before you finish that question, I was thinking about Jared Goff. Just as a guy, he has been so good in Detroit the last few years. And, a guy that's blown me away. I had my bar, level of expectations that I had for him, and he has way surpassed that. And it's the consistency in which he plays with. But I love rooting for these old guys, man. I love watching Matthew Stafford throw the football. It is amazing what he's doing right now. I'm trying to hype him up as the MVP of the league right now with the 17 touchdowns touchdowns. And, I mean, the way that he's played, that Rams team is 2 plays away from being 7-0. They're a really good team. So I like watching the old guys have success. And we talked about earlier, you just said the place that we're at in the league right now with these quarterbacks, they can play longer and longer now too, Yeah. And so once we find some good ones, they're going to have these long careers, and the state of the game is going to be in a great place.
My only concern going into this season, because I don't know how you felt about it, but if the Rams had played that game in the division round against the Eagles last year without the snow, I think they might have taken them down. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
You earn the right to have that place in your place. I understand that, but it's never the same for 2 players when one had Saquon Barkley in 2000, or teams. One had Saquon in a 2,000-yard season, and the other was trying to get everything to Puka and Cooper Rush. My only concern going into this season with Matthew was, as a guy that played as long as you did, when you hear I'm sort of resting my back during the preseason, I was like, that doesn't sound good. But so far they've been able to manage it, and it hasn't been a thing, and he has played lights out.
Yeah, you always get concerned with old guys, 17-year vet in a bad back, but it hasn't looked like that at all. And so another quarterback name I'll throw out there to you that I was so undecided all of last year on this guy was Bo Nix. I mean, it's so up and down, it's so crazy. And I think going back to what you said about Tom Brady and guys, not playing the game the same way, like Bo's a great example of that. But I think I'm falling in love with Bo Nix. It's wild, it's crazy, it's unexpected. He's out of the pocket, like you don't know what the heck's going to happen, but he competes his tail off for all 4 quarters. And last week they obviously had a great game, but the week before they didn't score for the first 3 quarters. They come back and score 33 against the Giants in the 4th. I love kind of his volatility, but you talk about self-belief and confidence, and you just see it in the kid. He oozes it, whether he deserves it or not, and it rubs off on the rest of that team. So he's a guy, he's officially won me over. I enjoy watching him play football. Maybe not the style of football that I most enjoy watching, but I enjoy that he competes for 4 quarters, and he's fun to watch.
He certainly is, and he and Jaden, now Jaden's a little banged up this year, but they're living proof that reps matter, right? I mean, like, didn't Bo play 6 years of college football, and
then Jaden played
5?
Yeah.
I mean that. So when you see guys like Trubisky come in with 13 starts, or Anthony Richardson who only had 13 or 11 starts, I feel like they're behind the 8 ball already, because these other guys that have had reps, suddenly it's an easier transition for them, and it's not surprising that they were the top 2 quarterbacks out of that rookie class a year ago.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a trend that's going to continue as these guys coming into the league older and more seasoned because of the money they can make in college now. Right. But I just read, and I'm thinking this can't be true, but the Tyler Shuck kid, or whatever his name is for the Saints, is older than Trevor Lawrence. He's older than Trevor Lawrence. He's a 5-year NFL veteran.
Yeah, he and Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, were in the same high school recruiting class. Like, they were in the same class.
Yeah.
This guy played 7 years of college football, and here's hoping he gets an opportunity to do something in New Orleans. But you mentioned Bo Nix, and we talked about Jaden. I'm beginning to believe that maybe Drake Maye might be better than all of them with what we're seeing in New England, and you could certainly make the case that he has less to work with in terms of weapons around him than any of those other guys.
I mean, the classic example of the play caller really matters. I mean, it's really helped for him, for Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels, the last 20 years in the NFL, has been a top 3 play caller. He's got some blemishes in terms of he goes to be a head coach and it doesn't work out. But when he was in New England with Tom for all these years, I mean, that system and the way he's got it going right now, there's a reason that when Vrabel took over as head coach, he sought out Josh and said, okay, you need to be our guy. The numbers that Drake Maye is putting up right now, throwing the ball over 20 yards, I keep saying it's not sustainable. I don't know how he's doing it. He continues to do it week after week. And it also, for young quarterbacks, another great example, it happened to Tua when they went and got Tyreek. It happened to Josh Allen when they went and got Diggs. To have a bona fide number 1 receiver that you can count on in all these situations where it's man-to-man, where you got to get to somebody, like that's helped him out a ton to bring Stephon Diggs to New England for him to be healthy this year, and that's a nice little connection they have going on.
Yeah, and it doesn't get talked about enough. Like, there's a reason the Chiefs struggled to start the season. When they didn't have Worthy and they didn't have Rice, then they get Worthy back and they put up 37 on Baltimore. Then they get Rashi back and they've basically become unstoppable the last two games. What you have to work with matters. I was watching somebody talk about the Packers and like, wow, their offensive line has gotten a lot better since they got their players back. I'm like, yeah, better players make you a better team. And I feel like people forget this very simple concept sometimes.
Yeah, and I was talking to my 18-year-old son yesterday about the Chiefs. I mean, we're Chief haters in our household just because, I'm a Bills fan. My son's a Dolphins fan, that one. And, like, I don't know, the Chiefs, they've just been on top for so long. But last year wasn't really enjoyable to watch them on offense. It wasn't. Yeah. And this year, it's fun again. It's fun to watch them. Patrick putting the ball down the field. So even though I still have the hatred for the Chiefs because of where my allegiances lie with some of the other AFC teams that I played for, they are fun on offense this year. It's been awesome to watch as they've gotten healthy.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, the meat of their schedule is ahead of them. They come out of this next 4-game stretch 3-1 or 4-0, then it's going to be interesting. The other thing I want to get in touch with you about is that we talked a lot or texted a little bit when you were thinking about doing what you're doing now, the broadcasting thing, and you're like, well, I'm just going to dip my toes into it and see how it goes. Well, I think you've dipped your toes and taken off your shirt completely in this. Are you surprised at how sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? How easy it was for you to acclimate to this thing that you weren't sure about?
I think I got really lucky in the sense that Amazon was just starting their Thursday night package, and I got on a team of people that were hungry, that some of them were savvy and knew all about the business, and then a couple of us had no clue what we were getting into. But I lucked out because we've got such a great team, from our producers to the makeup artists to the media people. I mean, the whole team, we're all pulling in the same direction. We're all happy for each other's success. And so I think that matters so much. And, hopefully when people watch Thursday Night Football and, if you have the pregame show on at halftime or postgame, like, you can feel the chemistry, because I love the group we work with. I love Carissa. I love Tony. I love Whit. I love Sherm. And, that makes my job enjoyable. Like, I'm getting texts from Whit right now. Like, once I hang up with you, we're going to go have a nice dinner, break some bread and enjoy each other's company. And then, we get to do this every Thursday night, like, with our friends, which is a really cool way to live. So that part of it has been really enjoyable for me.
Boy, you're not kidding. When I was working full time, who I worked with was more important than what I was doing. All those guys that I was on NFL Live with for 15 years are still guys that I go hang out with. Like, that part of it is real. And it does sort of give you a sense of that camaraderie in the locker room, right? Because I think most guys, when they retire, they would have loved to keep playing, but it's the hang, right? It was the hang in the locker room. And I think what you're doing now and the things you're talking about with Whit, it gives you a little bit of hit of that old stuff, right?
It does, and I think the fact that we're not a studio show, that we're a traveling show too, and we go to different places week to week, is that a little bit more difficult because you have to travel each week? Sure, I'm sure all the LA-based people, it'd be a lot easier for them to get in their car and go to the studio and go home, but a lot of the charm and joy in what we do is, like, I get to go tomorrow and go on the field, and I'll tell you what, the Dolphins staff, of all the staffs that I played for, all the teams I played for, the equipment guys, the training staff, the people that prepare the meals, they are top-notch A+. And I am so excited tomorrow to just get to go and hug all my friends and catch up. And that's a really cool part about being on the road for us too.
Yeah. What's the thing that sort of has surprised you about the beginning of your broadcasting experience? The thing that you didn't expect?
I don't love living in the 10 to 15 second sound bite. I mean, that part's hard to try to carve out time, and it's a constant battle for us of trying to carve out times in our show, and it can happen more in post-game than pre-game, where you can actually dive into a topic. And so, like last week for us, we had the Minnesota game. I'm sitting there the whole game. You're looking at Carson Wentz. You're looking at his face. You're looking at him wincing on the way down. It's before he lands. He's trying to protect his shoulder. There was obviously something going on there. And then you see J.J. McCarthy jump out of the way when Jefferson catches the ball and kind of give a first down signal. And, as former players, we're sitting there in the green room going, gosh, we got to, Spoon's our producer, Spoon, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about, what this guy's going through right now and the quarterback situation in Minnesota, the ramifications of Sam Darnold and not re-signing him. And we were able to break off a meaty conversation in the postgame about it. That's really enjoyable for us and hopefully enjoyable for the viewers, too, to come at it from a player's perspective. And so to live in that world is much better than the 10 seconds, I'm going to read you 2 stats, and we're going to move on to the next topic. It just kind of feels like you're filling space a little bit.
No, believe me, I get it. I felt like a lot of times when I was doing it that sometimes we were just filling space if there wasn't something that you could really sink your teeth into. By the way, you said Spoon, right? That's Span and Daftry, right?
Yeah, Span and Daftry, yeah.
On one of my first NFL live staffs, Spoon is an all-timer.
He's the best. I don't have anything to compare him to in the TV world, but I don't know if I could do it with anybody else. He is one of the absolute best, a true pro, a great dude, and makes our job really easy.
Has one of the worst laughs, though. That laugh of his is just atrocious.
But you know what? That's the reward, though. Spoon's going to get mad that I did that cackle, but that's the reward. Like he doesn't just hand that laugh out. So if you hear that in your ear after you made a comment or a face, you earned it. That's like our badge of honor when we hear that laugh.
Spoon is an all-timer, but that laugh is one of the worst, man. So I'm going to text him as soon as we're done, say, just so you know, you were a big part of the show and in a way you might not want to be.
He tells a great story. He said when he was like 10 years old, his dad sat him down and he said, Spondon, you're not going to have any friends if you continue to laugh like that. He is an all-time great guy, and it is one of my favorite laughs of all time as well.
Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. I mean, it's just I may have to get him to record it and send it so we can put it into the show here. That's good. Well, listen, tell Spoon, when you talk to him, tell him I say hi. We've been in communication for a lot of years, so he's the greatest. And when I reached out to you about doing it this week, I did hesitate because of the news this week of one of your dear friends and one of your best teammates, Nick Mangold, passing away way too early at the age of 41. When I did Half Forgotten History and you were an episode, Nick was one of my favorite episodes I ever did. So I just can you just try and put into words for a little bit and tell some stories about that guy? Like everyone knows, big guy, got the sister who's the Olympic powerlifter and all that kind of stuff. And there's the photo of you guys on the subway going to the playoff game and all that kind of stuff. Just take us a little bit behind the scenes about some of the stuff that you and Nick and some of those other Jets teammates were able to sort of do.
Yeah, when I was on the Jets 2015, 2016, Nick was there for 11 years, and he had already, established the culture there. But he cared so much about his teammates, so much about the camaraderie and the fellowship. So many offensive line dinners that we went to. I love that, he never just, he loved the rookies. He loved them, and they were always going to be part of it, but he made them earn it, too. He was, he was going to give you a hard time. He was going to make sure that you were committed to the cause. And the first time I ever met Nick, I had just been traded to the Jets. I was driving around Madison and Chatham, New Jersey, trying to find a house. And I pull up to a light. It's a white Bentley, crop top, so the top's down. And I just see this larger-than-life figure in the front seat. I pull up, blonde hair flowing, big beard. It's Nick Mangold, and he's got a car seat in the back. I'm just thinking,
of the Bentley.
This guy with a car seat in the back of his Bentley? But that was who Nick was. He had a taste for the finer things in life, but over everything, he loved his family. He cared so much about his kids, and I'm so thankful when it got announced that he was searching for a kidney donor, I gave him a call and we got to talk for 30 minutes just about life and his sarcasm, his dry sense of humor, like his wittiness. He made fun of me. I made fun of him. We got to talk about how much he loved his kids and coaching, and it was nice to have that conversation. But no clue that was going to be the last time we talked. I had no indication of that. He didn't give any indication of that. So I think it came as a bit of a shock to a lot of people that were close to him. But the most tragic part of it all is his four kids. I mean, yeah. Matthew, Eloise, Thomas, and Charlotte now, having to grow up without a dad, and we will be there for him whatever he needs. He's got so many former teammates that absolutely love and respect him and would do anything for him and his family. So the services will be this next Monday and Tuesday, and there'll be a lot of us out there hurting and trying to love up on his family and his kids for him.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I remember when I saw the post that he's in need of, and I'm like, wow, I hope he gets. And then it was like, a week, 2 weeks later. I mean, so you guys didn't have any indication it was that dire either, right?
No, I got a call from Willie Colon on Sunday morning at 5:30 in the morning, and I looked at it and I ignored it the first time because I was like, what is Willie calling about? Then he called a second time, so I answered, say, what's going on, man? And he's just beside himself, saying, we lost him. And I'm just so sad. And I think it took, even though we had the kidney donor thing out there, like I think it took a lot of people by surprise. And he was just so well respected in the locker room, but also in that community. That community in New Jersey and New York, and he felt like that was his home, and he really meshed with those type of people, and it's a huge loss for that community as well.
He was just so genuine. There are so many people you run into, and some people are, they try and present themselves in a certain way for a certain reason, and I just never got that in any of my whether I had him on the show or interviewing him or whatever. Whenever I was around him, he was like, this is who I am, and I'm not going to try and be anything else. Yeah,
I've got a Bentley with a kid's car seat in the back. Like, this is who I am, right? Like it or not. But the other thing about him, I spent one of the nights I couldn't go to bed, and I just looked at all our former text messages, that we had done over the years. And I mean, there's a great photo of Bryce Petty getting a neck massage, and he was a rookie, so I don't know that he needed to be taking up a table to get the neck massage. So Nick was tying his shoelaces together so that when he got up, he tripped over his shoes and fell over. Nick was classic. He had the best fine system I'd ever seen in an O-line room. Just incredible.
Really?
And one of my favorite fines that the whole team was on, if you ever got caught in a picture talking to the owner. So if you ever got caught with Woody Johnson, you got fined $500. And so, like, it was my favorite thing before a game. Nick and I would have our phones out, and we would, as soon as Woody walked in the locker room, we're trying to snap photos of guys that picture evidence to fine them $500 for talking to the owner. You got guys all of a sudden throwing icy hot on and taking their pants off and try to avoid Woody talking to them. But he was just an all-timer, great locker room guy, obviously a great family guy, great husband, great father. So he will be missed.
Will you remember him more for the things you did on the field together, or for the kind of stupid stuff that we just talked about?
I love Nick as a player, like a quarterback's dream in terms of just making things easy. Yeah. He was the smartest center I ever played with. But no, it was the off the field stuff. We lived in the same community. We had the same sense of humor. I was on 9 different teams, 17 years, and in different places, you make these lifelong friends, and I've got my list of like best friends of guys I ever played with, and he was certainly on that list. So it was a tough day for sure. But even like the conversation I had with him, he was so worried about Sanchez. That was his guy, right? And his concern was always for other people, and he's an offensive lineman at heart, so taking care of other people and protecting everybody. That's always what he wanted to do.
Yeah, and listen, I just, I really hesitated before I text you because I didn't want to infringe on a time where you might be having some deep introspection. But then I thought, maybe you'd want to really come on and share some of the stuff, because if you didn't, for a whole generation of football fans, we knew who Nick Mangold was, but you know how this does. Every 5 or 10 years, you get a whole bunch of other people that are into the game and into the teams, and they're like, oh yeah, I heard of him, didn't he, so-and-so. So I thought it might be cathartic for you to let people know who this giant human being was.
Yeah, and I appreciated your text, and I think cathartic it's the right word, because I've been, I was on his podcast with Sanchez, and I rewatched it from a couple years ago, just to hear his laugh, and even just the stories that other guys are coming out and telling about Nick. I think that's helpful. It's helpful for me, at least, to be able to watch back some of those things and to hear the great things that other people are, talking about. Even a guy like Ted Karras, he's the Cincinnati Bengals center who I played with,
right,
who didn't really know Nick. He called me and talked to me about how much of an influence Nick had on his career and how much he admired Nick. And so calls like that have been really helpful to field and to talk to guys and to know what an impact he had, even if he didn't know the impact he had on some of those guys. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. He was one of a kind. There's no doubt about it. So as we go forward now, Ryan, what do you think about your broadcasting career? Like, how long do you want to do this? Is there something else you want to try next? What do you want to do?
I really like the spot that I'm in right now. I love the team that I work with. I can't imagine ever doing it with anybody else. I can't imagine ever doing it with anybody but Amazon, and just how gracious they've been to me. The opportunity they gave me. So I don't know. All I know is right now I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And the second I stop having fun with it is probably the second I'll be done and sail off into the sunset. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, it does seem like you're having a blast. And, I'll close it out with this. In full disclosure, once I asked Fitzy to sign a jersey for my son. We collected a lot of jerseys over the years. Your signature on the jersey is one of the greatest things of all time. You said to my son, "It wouldn't be magic if it happened all the time." Sincerely, Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's still the greatest. It's the greatest way to encapsulate your career. It wouldn't be magic if it happened all the time.
Yeah, and I have to say, I have to get credit. So if you remember years ago, there was a shooting at a Madden. It was like a Madden convention or whatever.
A Madden in like Ohio somewhere. Yeah.
So one of the kids that was shot, his gamer tag was Fitzmagic something, and so I reached out to him and developed a relationship with him, sent him some jerseys and stuff, and he told me that. He said, "Fitz, it wouldn't be magic if it happened all the time." And so I took that from him. I thought it truly did encapsulate my career. So shout out to Fitzmagic I think it was down in Jacksonville where the shooting happened.
Jacksonville, that's right. It was Jacksonville.
But he was able to make a full recovery. So
that's awesome. Well, it's still one of the greatest things I've ever. So I'm glad I know where the origin story is, and I love the fact that you made sure you got proper attribution. See, this is you. You're going to be good at this. You're going to be good at this.
The only other jersey I remember signing that I put something that I thought was clever at the time. Todd Monken, his first ever game as a play caller in the NFL, was the year I started off hot in Tampa. We played in New Orleans, 400 yards. It's just a ridiculous game. And I said, "Congrats on your first game. Nowhere to go but down from here." But now he gets to coach Lamar Jackson to some MVPs. Right. So, he's done well for himself since then. So
he certainly has. And you've done more than well for yourself. So well done. Thanks for taking the time. I know you got busy, and I know there's a lot of things going on in your life. But I appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. So we'll see what happens, and continued success, okay?
All right, thanks. We'll see you.
So once again, thanks to Ryan Fitzpatrick for joining us. He's always insightful, always hilarious. And again, I really appreciated him taking out the time as soon as he did after learning about the passing of one of his favorite teammates, one of his best friends. Nick Mangold, and I was happy for him to be able to share some of those stories for those people who may not know just how incredible of a human being Nick Mangold was. So thanks for watching this episode. If you liked what you saw, we sure hope you did. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button wherever you're getting this podcast, especially if you're watching it on YouTube. It really helps us grow. And we'll see you next time on another edition of Straight Facts Homie.